running and scurrying, and that lizard is not going away. I think that we can preserve the species, that we can protect it. We have sanctuaries, whatever we want to do, but I don't think we can shut down an entire economy over one species. People need jobs, and we can protect the species at the same time. The second thing he says, why can't we pass a budget? The Senate has gone over 800 days, almost 3 years, without passing a budget. It is unconscionable that we're doing that. He mentions that he works 80 hours a week, and thank you for your service to the community. Americans are really tired of seeing Washington being dysfunctional. They know that we should be able to pass a budget and live with the restraints in that budget. The reason that Washington doesn't want to pass it is they would have to admit how much money we're actually borrowing and how much money that we're actually printing. These are devastating things for our future, and we absolutely can cure them and should, and it is well within your rights as citizens to expect us to get to the hard work that we came here to do. Connie writes, I would like to know why it is that no one talks about cutting foreign aid, benefits to illegals, funds to the UN. When our elected officials talk about cuts, it's always military, Social Security, and Medicare. Again, I agree with Connie. We voted for provisions in H.R. 1, the funding bill, early in this cycle that would decrease foreign aid to countries. I prepared an amendment that said we should take away foreign aid to all the countries that hate us. One of our colleagues said that he doesn't think we have to pay people to hate us. He thinks they'll do it for free. So we absolutely support the idea that we do not need to be funding terrorism. We don't need to be funding Hamas. We don't need to be funding those countries that hate us. I even took several votes that would be very stern with Pakistan because they were harboring bin Laden there with full knowledge. I think they need to be accountable to that, for that, to the American people. Secondly, she talks about benefits to illegals. We believe that that immigration reform is one of the most important things. Don't believe we should give amnesty, but I don't believe that we should be giving benefits to people who are here in this country illegally. It soaks away the dollars from people who legitimately are citizens who are looking for help. I believe that we can set up a guest worker program that allows people to come in and out, but get out of the shadows and go to work on programs, start paying taxes. When you're not working, go back home. That's the basic thrust. We need to secure the border, and finally, we need to just put Americans back to work. I think there are a lot of things that we can do. We have proposals to do just that, and would direct you to our website to look at those. Then, as far as the UN, I would not get us out of the UN, but I would get the UN out of the U.S. I would say that they should maybe go to, maybe they could form up in Yemen. Maybe they could go to Venezuela. There are countries there that rail at us every day. I think they've got a right to rail, but I'm just tired of funding the operation, tired of us shouldering the entire burden. So I think that we can begin to enforce fiscal disciplines on the UN, and let's do it. The next thing, always this talk of elected officials cutting military, Social Security, and Medicare. I recently co-sponsored a bill which would tell the President and the administration and tell ourselves what the priorities should be if we don't extend the debt ceiling. I think that our priorities should be, number one, our seniors. My mom is in her 80s. She can't go back to work. So she's made commitments and paid into Social Security and Medicare. She depends on them. A lot of our seniors are in that same category. So take care of seniors, take care of our soldiers who are fighting, and take care of the defense spending, Medicare. We can do all of those. If we don't extend this debt ceiling, the nation still has about $180 billion a month coming in. That's plenty to pay all of the things that, that Connie is talking about here. Let's prioritize so we know who's going to get paid and who's not. I don't think the President's threats to not pay Social Security are good for the country. So I signed on the legislation that says, okay, we'll tell you what you should. We can work our way through this, and we should and must. Julie questions, in the event a deal is not reached by Congress that the President is satisfied with and he circumvents Congress to raise the debt limit, what recourses will be sought? Those discussions right now. It's beginning to get very close to the deadline time. People are wondering the same thing. I think you're going to see the House of Representatives go on offense if the President tries to create his own solutions. Our founding fathers really had it right. They wanted three branches of government that caused checks and balances on each other. Those checks and balances are what give us the stability of our system. When one person believes they're more important than the Congress or than the Constitution, then I believe we have structural problems. I'll be on the side saying that the President must live with the constitutional restraints that our founding fathers envisioned. We've got Bob who asks, is it harder to deal with your party leadership demands or Democratic committee members? Actually, I don't really find it terribly hard to deal with either one. I simply make up my mind and I vote the way I'm going to. I voted against the Speaker 4 or 5 times this year, often vote against Democrat suggestions. So I don't find myself aligning with any specific checklist. Instead, we try to do the right thing for the country. There are comments that are made, but I don't find those comments very hard to deal with, frankly. I know who I am, what I'm about, I know what my values are, and I try to vote those every single day. The last question that we have time for today is coming from, excuse me while I ruffle through the papers, Ivan is asking if the legislation as proposed by the Gang of Six is accepted in its current form, I would appreciate understanding how that would affect me as a retired civil service employee under the CSRS, retired as GS9 in 2003. Now he's on Medicare with FEHBP as my secondary insurer, who never worked long enough to qualify for Social Security. Thanks for allowing me this opportunity to ask my question. Ivan, it's pretty uncertain what the Gang of Six suggestion really is. It's very fluid. They're changing it every day. And in fact, it's not even written in legislative form yet. That tells me that the Gang of Six proposal is not going to be even voted on in the House. There's a certain, in other words, you can't just pitch a bill up today. There are certain time limits. We in the House have 3 days that you have to look at a bill online. We want the citizens of the country to be able to review it. I think the Senate has similar proposals. We're down now to just about 8 or 9 days, and I'm not sure that any proposal can make it all the way through the system that the Gang of Six is suggesting. But secondly, it says that we're going to let the Senate suggest something in the future. Now I'm telling the people up here, I'm from New Mexico, I'm going to trust my neighbors, but we brand our cows back in New Mexico. We're going to see what the Senate actually wants to do before I accept their first part. And I hear a lot of my House colleagues saying the same thing. They're not going to vote on anything that has a bill in the future that we might see. So the Gang of Six proposal is being talked a lot by the press, but frankly, I think it is DOA, dead on arrival, in the House. The House has currently the only suggestion for curing this problem of the debt limit. It is cut spending now, cap it into the future, and give a balanced budget amendment. Cut, cap, and balance. It's the only plan that's been voted on. So when I hear the President lecture us in the House that we should somehow do our work, I'm saying, with all respect, Mr. President, our work is sitting in front of the Senate. You should reject that outright. You should make them vote on it. And if you don't come back with a proposal of your own that we can talk about, not rhetoric, it's hard to vote on rhetoric, come back with absolute concrete proposals, then we will consider it. But right now, the House is the only one with solutions in front of the American people. We're going to stick on those. We had a conference this morning to where we all determined that we're comfortable with our position, that 232 of us or 35 of us voted yes this week on the proposal. I think that's where we're going to be for the next 7 days. I applaud our leadership for standing firm for the solution that I think is good for the country. Cut the spending now, cap it into the future as a percent of the economy, and give us a balanced budget. Well, I've enjoyed the opportunity to visit with you on this Facebook town hall. We're going to do more in the future. We just think anything that we can do that makes the policies come closer to you, the discussion come closer to you, to where you're included in it every day. You see that we post a lot. I'm usually the one that takes the pictures right where I am. Very rarely I'm the one on the computer. Allison identifies herself when she gives the answers, but I post a lot. We really appreciate your participation, appreciate you taking the time to write these questions and watch the responses. God bless you, and God bless this country. Thank you very much.